Stan, this is really a gripping story, and it's based on real events, is it not? Could you come tell us about that?
I was fascinated by the fact that this really happened and that the characters were all, in one way or another, victims and also perpetrators. And that's what was fascinating to me. I think the audience always has a different reaction when they see the words based on a true story at the beginning. And I've been fascinated by people who have watched this film and forgotten and been caught up in it. And then at the end, when they get brought up to speed on what has happened to the characters since the end of the film, there's always a gasp in the audience. And I think that's something you get from having a true story that you don't get from fiction. And I've had great success in the true crime arena as a television movie producer. And so I felt like when I was going to do my first movie as a director, I wanted to be in that and get that same kind of, oh, wow, that happened reaction.
So basically, what is the, let's say, what's the elevator pitch here?
Well, the elevator pitch would be two sisters in high school living with their alcoholic mother and her sexually predatory boyfriend decide as an escapist method to form a club at school called How to Kill Your Mom. And then as things get progressively worse at home, they decided to act on it. And you know, all hell breaks loose from there.
Now, these girls, let's talk about moral compass. I mean, do they have it, or are they lacking it, or why? I mean, what is the decision they have to make?
As a parent myself, I was fascinated by the story. I had teenage boys at the time that I developed this script, and so I had kids that were exactly the same age. It was around boys and girls that age. And I think their moral compass is dictated by the adults in their lives. And there were so many adults that didn't step in and help these girls. I'm not saying that they are not without enormous fault for thinking that the only way out of a situation was to kill their mother. On the other hand, the father abdicated responsibility, the aunt, the mother, the school, the social workers. Nobody stepped in. And so they didn't get to that place where they had painted themselves into a corner and felt the only way out was violence without a lot of adults looking the other way.
And you had, let's talk about your actresses. You have two wonderful actresses that they gave you some terrific performances. Can you talk about them? How did you cast them?
I was blessed to have had a long career as a TV movie producer, and 3 of the movies I did were with Abigail Breslin's older brother, Spencer Breslin. So I was lucky enough when I tried to make my first movie and put the financing together to be able to make a phone call to Abby's agent and Abby's mom without having to make an offer, which is an enormous luxury as a first-time director. And Abby was always my first choice for Sandra. And then when I got Abigail, then it was who could really match wits with her, because she's probably at the top of her game for a 16, 17-year-old actress. Who could I find that would stay toe-to-toe with her? Because it's a two-hander. It's two sisters, movie begins, two sisters, movie ends. And if the other girl isn't as good as Abigail Breslin, I don't have a film. And we looked for casting in Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and didn't find her. And we were 3 days away from the first day of principal photography. All the other parts were cast. And my casting director in LA said, I got this tape from an actress who put herself on film in her own bedroom and bathroom in Leeds, England. And I don't even know if we can get her here on time, but I think it's kind of good. And she emailed it to me. I was sitting alone in my office, and I burst into tears. I said, oh my God, I found Beth.
What is it like working with the girls?
Oh, those 2 girls were a dream to work with. First of all, they're consummate professionals because they've been acting since they were both 3 or 4 years old. So there wasn't anything they didn't know. It was like working with a seasoned professional adult. It wasn't like working with kids. They knew how to motivate themselves. So I had a big leg up on like working with teenagers, that they were really very, very experienced and they were consummate pros. Plus they had a lot to say about the parts. They had a lot to say about their dialogue, which was really helpful because I'm not 16 years old and I'm not a 16-year-old girl, but they were, and they lent a lot of credibility to the part, and we talked a lot of stuff out, and we actually did some homework assignments where they had to go home and write stuff about their characters and bring it back to school, and they were very collaborative, and that was great. I mean, it was daunting to the night before I started shooting to know that I was walking into my first film with an Academy Award winner in Mira Sorvino, an Academy Award nominee in Abigail Breslin, so I was a little intimidated.